crisis. It is time for transformation. The death of the narrative brings confusion, chaos, and struggle. There are moments in consciousness when things become fluid, when patterns change, and in these moments, the ripples of even a single idea can make a huge difference, change the whole wave of consciousness, and evolve the reality. It's quite normal to fear what one most desires. We desire to transcend the story of the world that has come to enslave us, and indeed is killing the planet. We fear what the end of the world will bring, the demise of much that is familiar. Fear it or not, it is happening already. How do we change the world? Change the story. Welcome to the infinite Imaginarium.
Yeah, it sort of leads me on to think about this kind of age of information that we're living through at the moment, or the digital age, as some people like to call it. And one of the great things about technology, as we know it currently, and obviously we also know that it's constantly evolving and changing, and it's kind of an art in itself, technology, because people are constantly building, adding, rearranging it, changing it about, and obviously lots of new stuff is coming out of that. But it also makes me think about how human beings kind of exist within a time construct, which I personally believe to be an illusion, sort of an illusionary linear time construct, in terms of the fact that we feel that we are moving in a certain way while we exist. We're moving in a certain sort of linear fashion, and the whole third dimensional infrastructure is largely run through this time construct. Obviously we have dates and appointments, we live our lives, and we have an alarm clock, and we set the alarm clock for 9 o'clock in the morning to get up to go to work, and then we know that at a certain time we eat food. We have a lunch time, and then we have a time where we have an evening meal. We have dates for specific events and birthdays, Christmas, and all the rest of it. So we kind of run our whole life based around time, which kind of perpetuates this cycle of the belief that there's something outside of ourselves. There's this duality, that we have something outside of ourselves that makes us separate from other things. So people who are going on a spiritual journey will often go down the route of meditation, to feel that connectedness again, or feel at one with everything. Or they might go on a spiritual retreat, and then they come back to their normal life, the daily grind, as we call it. And it also got me onto thinking that with technology, we're starting to transcend that linear time construct with technology, because now, with the technology that we have, we can do things more instantaneously. There isn't that time lag. There isn't a waiting period. If we want to research something, we want to ask a specific question, we can type the question in to a search engine, and then we have like a series of either the same answer to the question, or slightly different versions of the same answer to a question, to interpret how we want. Or if we want to watch something visual, a visual image, listen to something, we can do it instantaneously. We can connect with people instantaneously. And I was thinking to myself, are we going to be able to evolve beyond that? You know, using the technology to be able to do those things? Are we going to be able to evolve beyond that? Or are we going to go further and further into the technology and become more and more reliant on it? Which in a sense could be almost ironic that consciousness could halt growth as opposed to growing further and further due to the technology, which is allowing us to do these things that break us out of the usual cycles, or the cycles of time, and you know, everything that we've done for sort of hundreds of years, thousands of years. We sort of seem to be breaking out of that. But are we going to get further and further into it, or are we going to somehow transcend that technological element and do these things naturally? So anyway, that was kind of, you know, where I'm at with it and how I was thinking about it. So I'm not sure if anybody wants to add to that.
I don't know if you've ever heard of overtone chanting, but there's this note, but then there's this other secret note that you start to hear that's moving in, I don't know, thirds.
We could ask Jill.
It depends what she's up for. Will you? I'm sure you've had to do this before, so I don't even feel that bad asking. Can you kind of explain to us what the sort of the mechanism of overtone chanting is? In other words, what does it do to us to hear it or to do it?
Well, it allows us to be in tune, first of all, because Western music in the 17th century was made out of tune. The well-tempered scale made all the intervals in the octave stretched or squashed. So all music since the 17th century has been out of tune. And so with the overtone chanting, you're chanting on a single note, and you're using your resonant cavities to allow the harmonics, the notes within the notes, to become audible. And these, because they come about through resonance, they can only be in tune. So the sounds that you're making are in tune, which means that your sound in mind and body, you're not highly strung, you're in tune. And you're not only internally coherent, but you're in tune with nature, you're in tune with everybody else, and you're hearing the sounds of your own geometry being made audible. So that's one thing. And another thing is that it's a very powerful meditation. So you're compressing the breath, you're doing a kind of kumbhaka, you're sitting on the breath and you're elongating your breath. And you're becoming aware of, so a lot of meditation techniques involve becoming conscious of normally unconscious processes like breathing or walking. So with this one, so if we speak, if we have an idea, our tongue waggles and we kind of hope somebody gets what it was that we were thinking about. But if we redirect our awareness to the movement of the tongue, our mind becomes spacious. So it's kind of redirecting the focus. And so becoming aware of these very infinitesimal movements allows huge mind expansive processes to happen.
I mean, it feels to me as if, you know, part of what we're dealing with as a society is our, and we can call it archetypally male, but really our need to sort of dominate, say what's going on here, apply laws, you know, to somehow, as even Bacon would say, you know, kind of tame or rape or control nature and push it down, and or escape from the masses, as the billionaires want to do. And this other way, not a passive way, but a way of resonating with nature, becoming whole with it, and living healthy and happy and connected and loving and all that. I mean, and it seems like the practice that you're sharing with people is sort of a very clear, direct, practical, experiential way to actually make oneself more open to the sort of the worldview that you're describing.
Well, your sound creates form, and the same sound dissolves it. And so I'm really only interested in chanting together. And so when you chant together with other people, you dissolve the boundaries not only between spirit and matter, but between you and them. And you create community, sonorous community, which I think is essential. And that's really the point, one of the points.
And is it different of people chanting together, doing overtone chanting together, than people singing Amazing Grace together?
Well, I think so, because if you sing words, you can be singing the wrong ones. If you sing a national anthem on one side of the border, you're singing the right one, and if you step over the border, you're singing the wrong one. And also, this way of using sound is to go beyond the contents of the mind into the nature of the mind. And if you're singing words, you're contained into sort of discursivity, and you're thinking about what you forgot to listen to yourself chanting while you are on. If I sing a hymn, then I realize I don't listen to the words, and I get to the last verse, and I realize I haven't a clue what I've just been singing about. So I scan verses 1 to 4 while singing verse 5, and I don't know what verse 5 was about either.
No, and the boundaries dissolve. No, and the boundaries dissolve. No, and the boundaries dissolve.
Sacred geometry is the pattern of consciousness that expresses itself in numbers. Every pattern of growth, movement, or change will correlate to the mathematical precision of one or more geometric shapes. Sacred geometry is an ancient metaphysical science that explores the mathematical patterns that are ingrained in all forms of creation. And this reveals to us the intricate details of how the universe arranges itself. Sacred geometry shows us the underlying connection between all things. Sacred geometry is indeed the language of the universe. Everything has a specific pattern, which is the basis of a blueprint that is the key to creative, unique experiences and influences our individual levels of awareness, consciousness, and unique perception of the world. Nikola Tesla said that 369 was the key to the universe.